Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hello. Hello, Obinna.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Joy of Life. So, friends,
Joydy, good afternoon.
we have Obinna Chikwendu from Lagos, Nigeria. He has 15 years of experience and he is looking out for a change, and that's where he volunteered to participate with mock interview. So, Obinna, over to you for a quick introduction so that our viewers can know about you.
Good afternoon. My name is Obinna Chikwendu. I'm a software developer
Mhm.
with a little over 15 years work experience in the fintech, banking, and the health sectors. I studied computer science in a Nigerian university, and I've worked in areas around my field,
Mhm.
from system support to software development. That's my work life in a nutshell.
Okay. It was nice to have you on the show, Chikwendu. And what we are going to do is we are going to have a 1 hour setup, just like any coding interview in any big tech company. And I have already shared you the Google Docs link, wherein I'll be sharing the problem statement with you. And you are free to choose any tool of your choice. You can use the Google Docs or the diagram.net that I have shared with you in order to come up with the solution. And it would be great if you can talk us through the solution, your thought process. It would be amazing to know that so that we can discuss and keep it interactive.
Okay, thank you very much.
So you have access to the document that I have shared, right? So can you just check that you're able to type into the document?
Yes, I have access to it. Okay, I can see it. Mock system design interview two is
Okay.
what it says. Heading,
Yes.
okay, headings
Are
that
you
you
able
are
to
to
edit
do.
the
Yeah,
file? Are you able to write into the file?
hold on, let me give it a try.
Sure.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. I can see your changes as well. So
Okay.
what I'm going to do, Obina, is I am going to give you the problem statement, and then you can come up with the questions that you might have, and then we can slowly deep dive into the design, discuss the challenging areas, and keep it going.
Okay.
Okay, so I want you to design a log management system. So let's say I am a company like Samsung or let's say Apple. So I have my own mobile phone, and what happens is that throughout the day the logs are generated, right? So you have a quite a large number
Okay.
of logs, quite a big log files, and we need to upload this log files, right? So first requirement is large log files are generated every day, and we need to update them. And second one is the connectivity of the apps are not stable, right? Might be you are going on a metro or you are taking a flight, you are disconnecting yourself quite often, right? When you are in a meeting, you're putting it into a silent mode or a flight mode. A lot of scenarios can happen. So what we wanted to do is we want to build a log management system wherein these devices sends their log files regularly, and we need to process the log files. That processing is left with the downstream system, but I want you to come up with the design of how I'm going to upload this large number of files.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so good afternoon. Yeah. So for this system, I want to assume that can I get control to edit the file now?
You already have the control, so you should be able to edit it. Are you facing any difficulty? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you have control.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So okay, so for the functional requirements, I would assume that we want to be able to primarily get logs from all user activities.
Yes.
on the system.
Yes.
Okay, so uh, what will these activities be? What's the range of the activities? Is it
It
tied
can.
to another system?
It can be, and that is not in our scope. So let's say if it is a mobile phone provider, in that case, it is generating logs of all the activities that you are doing, the apps that you are installing. There could be many things. That is not the scope of our design. Our scope of design is to upload those logs that are already generated in the system, and it keeps generating
Okay, so
regularly. So it's a append only log, you can assume.
okay, so the logs have already been generated. I'm supposed to assume I shouldn't care about how they are generated, but they
Right,
are stored in the
absolutely,
particular
absolutely.
location.
Yes, but you
Is
might
that
have
is
me
it
exactly, exactly, Obinna.
is it
You're right.
is it one particular location or a series of locations?
uh, what I would say is that since here we are focusing on the backend design, so it does not matter. So what happens is the log files are generated quite frequently. It can be app specific log. So what we focus is on the backend. Now, my main intention of giving this problem to you is, let's say I have a 1 GB of log file, right? And maybe 30 MB is uploaded. Now the user is disconnected
Okay.
and he connects back maybe after 1 day. So how we are going to design this APIs or the backend in order to store these files?
Okay. Can I just clarify one thing? So
Sure.
this as these logs are constantly being generated, and as they are being generated, I need to get them.
Yes.
Do I need them on time,
Uh,
or do I just need to eventually get them?
that's a very nice question. I was expecting this. Yeah, eventually consistent is absolutely fine. We don't need it to be real time.
Okay. So
Hmm.
availability over consistency.
Yes.
Okay. And what's what's the like what's the size generally of the and what's the number of users I'm expected to
That's again a very,
user file
yes, that's,
user data amount I'm expected to on a per hour or a per day basis.
yeah. So you can understand that when I'm talking about a Samsung kind of mobile, so the user is pretty high. Let's say we'll take a number as 10 million.
Okay.
And let's
Of
for
about
the,
10 MB per user per day.
yes,
Okay, so we can say we are looking at roughly 100 gig per day of data.
yes.
Okay, 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 and okay,
Hmm.
um, availability.
Yes, because I just mentioned on
So,
the second point that connectivity of the apps are not stable. So it might happen that the logs are generated, but the user is not connected on the web.
okay, but eventually we need to have this
Yes, yes,
data.
yes. So whenever he's connected back, we need to upload them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in that case, I believe that we need to have some uh offline. Would that be uh that okay?
Offline queuing. Yes, yes. So on the device side, you are planning to
Mm.
queue them if he's offline, and you are going to push it when he comes online back.
And then push it when it comes online. That means, in
Right.
a way, I'll also have to implement a form of polling
Yes.
from the user's end, or from the from the server end
Hmm.
to know when the user is available.
Yes.
Uh,
We should
Alternatively, I could
we should not call it polling because the connectivity is not there. You cannot poll the server. So you have to make some OS level calls to see that there is network connectivity or not.
okay. Would the sort of uh server-side event work on this in this case?
Mhm.
So that in this case, the client might not be available at any minute, but
Right.
the moment he comes online,
Yes.
the server needs to know he's online so that it can, update as
Okay.
required.
But why do you want to have server-side events? Just to understand your thought process, why not the client itself pushes the data? So the client knows that he's online, he can just
Okay,
make the REST API
he's
calls.
online. Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually better. That's better solution. That's a much better solution. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all.
Side.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So would I call it a regular request? Each time he comes
Yes.
online,
Yes.
he
Mhm.
requests for data. Um, and then the servers can store kind of like the last time each client was last recorded online.
Yes. Mhm.
The server stores the last time a client was online and the last information that it logged on the client.
Mhm.
Um, and so each time the client comes back online, the server can just use that information and update the client as appropriately.
Yes. Mhm.
So uh, um, that's that I think should okay. As per I believe this covers the primary functionalities
Yes.
of this login system, login
Right.
management system.
Yes.
Okay, so hold on a sec. Let me. My internet is just
Okay. Okay. Sure.
coming. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure that. Okay. We will. Okay. Non-functional requirements. Will we be doing any form of authorization because we need to have in the system? We need to have the users
Of
registered
course.
in the system.
Of course, you need to authenticate and authorize them because otherwise there is a high chance that you will be bombarded with unnecessary files from the malicious services.
Okay. 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 Also, do we need to do some kind of data warehousing for analytics in the future and so
Uh,
forth?
yeah, we can consider that we will send it to a downstream system for processing. We'll be storing somewhere. So now the primary focus is we get the files. So the challenging area that I would say is that 10 MB per file, right? So you cannot upload them at once. So let's say a user comes back online after 3 days, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
you cannot
Okay.
upload 30 MB at once, right? So what is the strategy that you are going to take in order to upload these files? And let's say that
Okay.
it's 11 in the morning, the file log file that is generated is of size 3 MB, right? Now at 12 p.m.
Okay.
another 2
Okay.
MB has been added. So are you going to upload all over
Okay.
again the same file? So how you're going to address this difference of the file and only upload the difference?
Oh, okay. 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 So so basically, you are saying as far as data storage is concerned,
Mhm.
eventually we will be sending all the data to an offline
Yes,
location.
yes.
So we don't care much about
No, we
keeping
don't.
the data. What we want is to be able to
Upload.
get the data,
Yes,
upload the data.
yes,
But we
absolutely.
need to have all the data and we need to track
Yes.
what points of the data we have,
Yes.
what parts we have uploaded, and what part we are yet to upload. So we need to have a
Yes.
form
Yes.
of tracking data
Mm-hmm.
received
Yes.
and data
How you can
uploaded.
optimize. Optimization is the main part that I am interested in.
Okay. So it's not just how it can be done
Yes,
effectively.
it's not going to be a very simple upload, right? So let's say you are
Yes, yes.
in Lagos, right? In Lagos, you
Okay,
took a flight for US at 10 o'clock in the morning. You landed at
okay,
9 p.m. at the night, right? I want to send only
okay,
the partial logs, not the full log again. So you just mentioned that you know the last
okay,
time that
okay,
you are online, right? I want to only use the difference and
okay,
optimize on what I'm sending.
okay. Okay. How about if I said, can I use a mixture of technologies here, like data partitioning, to be able to determine first of all how data can be uploaded? So we can say, for instance, I upload based on user location and based on time,
Hmm.
and then I
Hmm.
can partition my data in that method, and possibly I can implement a sort of vertical partitioning system where so if
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
um, my user Obinna uploads at say 10 a.m.
Hmm.
Um, that data is stored in a small partition,
Hmm.
and then later on, if by 5 p.m.
Hmm.
I upload again based on my user location. So Lagos, we know where Lagos
Hmm.
partition comes, and
Hmm.
we know where it's not only broken down into geographical location, but geographical location per time. So
Hmm.
Lagos from say early morning,
Hmm.
say from between 6 a.m. and
Hmm.
12 noon,
Hmm.
a specific partition, and from 12 noon, Lagos 12 noon to 6 p.m. would have another partition. I believe that is one way to
Yes, 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 yes.
effectively collect the data and ensure that we are not replicating information, so that when we do upload,
Hmm.
um, we can easily and we can flag data that has been received
Hmm.
as received,
Hmm.
data that
Okay.
has been sent as
Hmm.
sent,
Hmm.
so that we can tell data that's yet to be sent. Is
Okay.
that
Yeah,
does that make
that
sense?
was one thought. Now let's take an example like you have a log file of 10 MB in size. Okay, you have started uploading, and in
Okay,
between the user has switched off the phone, restarted the phone for some reason. So
okay,
your upload has
okay,
failed, right? Maybe out of the 10 MB, after 5 MB has been uploaded, user has switched off the phone
okay,
and user has restarted the phone after
okay,
say half an hour. So you have to upload the same data all over again. So how you
okay,
are going to address that?
okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So in terms of this first of all, there are two issues here.
Hmm.
There is the biggest issue is knowing what has been sent
Yes.
and what wasn't sent,
Hmm.
and then the second issue is the the first having to be able to understand user capacity.
Hmm.
You know, what system does the user have, how
Okay.
much data can he take, such
Hmm.
that you don't send him more
Hmm.
than he can receive.
Hmm.
So starting from the first issue, I think that's more from an application layer.
Hmm.
You want to effectively ensure that you further break down data that you send
Hmm.
into small modules, into smaller
Yes.
packs, into
Yeah,
smaller
that's
application
right.
packets.
Absolutely.
And so as you send these small packets,
Yes.
the user is supposed to acknowledge receipt.
Right.
And so any packet for which receipt is not acknowledged is marked as not acknowledged, so that whenever he's back on to ensure that you you can send him the ones you've not sent him.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
about the
That's how you should do
um,
it. That's
okay,
that's pretty right.
okay,
So rather than uploading the whole file at
okay,
once, what we can do is we can break the file into multiple pieces and we upload smaller pieces, so that even if we fail at some point, we just retry on a very small part rather than starting all over again.
again, yes, yes, yes.
Right.
So okay, yeah, so so the data, based on the fact that it's not the individual data that's being sent isn't particularly huge. I
Right.
would assume in this case that there would be no need for any necessarily caching or things like that. So we would more likely want to, because I believe our data is more uh, um, is kind of like on a per user per time basis, a smaller set of data, but based on the fact that our concern is more from a uh, uh, ensuring the data is as accurate as possible, we may want to rather implement certain things like uh, indexing and
Right.
relationships.
Right.
So from a database perspective, I would say we want to use a relational database
Mm-hmm.
uh, over a NoSQL database.
Okay.
Uh, uh, the reasons for this is it's
Mm-hmm.
easier for querying. It's more easily extensible.
Okay.
Um, you can you schema is more fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't need to change the schema so often, if at all. But instead, you want a situation where you can easily access data, know what data is accessed, relate it to data that has been accessed,
Right.
and and probably work it in a different line
Mm-hmm.
rather than just
Mm-hmm.
having easy access to the data. You might not ever need to cache it because again, we are not specific about the ease of access. We are just more concerned that we have access to the data and the data we have access to is
Right.
accurate.
Right.
As far as things like replication goes, we can always we already have other means of ensuring that our data is replicated among
Right.
different systems, so that for
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that we have access to our data, and then if anything happens, we have backups.
Mm-hmm.
And since we don't need to be very real time, the replication doesn't have to be necessarily vertical. It can be scaled up horizontally. We are just trying to ensure that we have the data backed up
Right.
for us.
Okay.
So
And it would also be very interesting for me to know how your APIs is going to look like. So if you can define them, it would be great. To start with, if we
okay,
start from the API signatures, like
okay,
what are
okay,
the
okay,
different kind of API design is something very interesting after
okay,
hearing your
okay.
thoughts.
So as as per the APIs,
Hmm.
we want to have first of all, we want to have an API that we can use to retrieve new logs. So we
Hmm.
can have something like log slash retrieve slash all new.
All
So this
new, yeah. So can you just explain what this API does?
so it's so from the server side perspective, we want to be able to retrieve every new log, every log that has not been sent to
But
the offline store.
yeah, so who calls this API? So this
At this point, this would be the server. This would be our log management system server,
uh,
not the clients, not our clients, because our server has to be able to pull all clients.
mhm.
Sorry, pulling is not the right word, but at least to get every single new um, data that's to be sent offline.
But
I don't know if
how the server is going to send a request to the client to get all new logs?
okay, no, so the first of all, the client has to have a sorry about this. The client has to have an API it calls to log first of all.
Can you
Maybe I should
just put
start
it
there.
down? Yeah.
So let me just drag
Mhm.
this. This should come later.
Mhm.
So the client has to be able to um so I'll break this down into log.client just
Mhm.
to separate the one that's from the client. He has to be able to log to create log.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know if that's okay. So this would he would create a log, and then it will pass in
So this will be
a
sent.
unique
This request will be
ID
sent by the client to the server.
to the server. Yeah,
Okay, and it will have a ID. So ID is a parameter basically.
an ID is a parameter. So I
Uh,
believe also he will need to be able to get that ID
what
from the
have what
server so that he does.
uh, okay, so this is for creating the log, I understand. So there is a
Okay,
problem, Obinna, over here. So the problem is, what if two
okay.
of the client sends the same ID? There is a high chance.
That's
So
what I was
yeah,
about
it is.
to say. But before he can do this, he should have access to another API,
It
which
would
is
be easier if
log.
if your server generates the ID. So the chances of
And
having that.
the server generates the ID, so the
Okay,
client
okay,
can request the ID. So
okay.
he
Got
can
it, got it. Hmm.
request an ID.
Okay.
Okay, so he requests an ID,
Hmm.
then uses this ID to create an ID. Because if he were to hypothetically randomly send an ID that doesn't follow
Uh,
the sequence or the process,
okay.
or if it was replicated, it should be rejected as
Hmm.
part of the response from the second query,
So
which is
Obina, so what you can do is from the second API, you can remove the ID, and as a part of the response, your server can return the ID, right? You don't need to have
okay,
a
okay, okay,
separate.
okay. I don't need to have separate.
Yeah,
That's sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
No, no, it's
Absolutely.
perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. I don't
Hmm.
need to do this.
Yeah.
This would be expensive actually.
Yeah, you
Okay,
don't
yes.
need the
So
ID at the back, so the response will,
yes,
yes.
I don't need to do this. And then
Hmm.
he said he gets a response, which is the
Right.
ID, which he can use for whatever purposes
Yes,
he needs to
yes.
use it. He
Perfect.
doesn't need to know anything about ID, but
Right.
plus he doesn't need two different calls.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that's one.
Hmm.
So another thing, and part of the parameters, because this is going to be a post,
Yes.
he will need to send in the details of the log, which would probably include he doesn't
So
need to
this
put in a
basically
time.
creates the log entry in your database. Now you will need another API to upload those parts, right?
Yes, and
Yes. Hmm.
that is from the server side. Yeah, so that was
Why server side?
because I don't think the client needs to be specifically responsible for uh,
Only the so it is a HTTP connection, right? A server cannot establish a HTTP connection with the client. The client has to
and,
initiate the connection, right?
yes, but when you say upload now,
Hmm.
you're talking about uploading it
Upload.
to your
Yes,
client
yes. Hmm.
location.
Hmm.
I'm thinking the client doesn't have to upload it just yet. The
Okay.
moment he creates this log, the server has it in his server store. He has his data with all the logs that have been created that are yet to be pushed off online to offline. So the
Mhm.
client doesn't really need to do that. I'm thinking the server has access to all this. So at
Uh,
any time in the
but
server's inconvenience, he can. Sorry for
Obinna,
cutting.
yeah, yeah. One tips over here is that now this is a stateless, right? This is a REST client. So what happens is you have sent a request. He has received your request and given you a ID, right? It does
Yes,
not
yes.
mean that he has control over the device. That's a security reason, right? Let's, for example, let's say if I open a Google window today, Google cannot access
Okay,
my hard disk, right? It is confined
okay.
to the
No, no,
browser.
no.
So
Okay, yes,
the files
yes.
are now sitting on your device storage, right? Whatever mobile phone
Okay,
device you have, in the storage, the logs are sitting.
o-
So the
okay,
client
okay.
should break the logs into smaller pieces and then call another upload method with the
Okay,
ID
okay.
that it has
I
received.
get your point. I was of the opinion that this create log will, but I think you are more correct. My thinking was that this create log will gather the data from the logs and send it immediately.
No, no,
That
no,
was
no.
my thinking.
Yeah, yeah, because it
That's
can become
so.
vulnerable. If a external service can connect to your hard disk, then there is a high chance that it might damage your data, right? That's how the
Yes. Okay.
malware or this virus works.
Well, okay. Yes. Okay. 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 So in that case, yeah, we can. So the question now is,
Mhm.
how do you propose that this log is sent? Because from the client's perspective, my thinking was the client was to push it to the
Yes, the
server.
client will push it to the server. That's right. So the
Okay.
first request
Okay.
that you
So
have made is that you are going to
okay.
upload a log. So you received the
Okay.
ID, you received a token. Now against
Okay.
that token, you are going to send the file. So you are going to break the
Okay.
file and send it as a part. So when all the part
Okay. Okay.
arrives, you are going to combine
Okay.
them and store it.
Okay. Okay. Send
Yes,
file in bits. Okay.
yes, and it will be followed by your log ID that you have received from the first call, so
From
that
the
it
first call.
knows that
Okay.
this log file is flowing in for this request.
For this request. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it sends it to the server,
Mm-hmm.
so I believe that when it does send it to the server,
Mm-hmm.
the 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 part there there can be a lag between the time it's sent to the server and when the server now pushes it to the offline location. Is that
Yeah,
accurate?
yeah, that difference is not going to matter because your first API is the time that you have started the upload, right?
Okay, okay,
So now
okay,
what is
yes,
happening is that you are slowly uploading it. So you might
okay,
be sending it throughout the day if the user is not online or available, right? But what will
yes,
happen
yes,
is you can send in bits and pieces.
yes,
So
yes,
let's
yes,
say this second API that you have created, it will take only a file part of say 1 MB.
okay,
Just for example,
yes,
it could be even smaller,
yes.
right? It
So it
will
could be
be in
smaller, yes,
chunks.
over
Yes.
a 20 megabyte, yeah,
Yes, it will
um,
be in chunks.
yes, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was what I was saying. Based on these small chunks, so you are sending the small chunks.
Mhm.
The server is storing those chunks temporarily.
Yes, yes.
So that
Until
therefore the
it
server can
receives a call
until it
from the
receives
client.
that
Yeah,
it's been everything has
it's
been sent. So
completed.
probably you want to send a
Yes,
completed
yes, that's what I'm
message
coming to.
saying
Mhm.
client dot send complete,
Yes,
and you are also passing in
ID.
the ID.
Yes.
Okay,
Now you will
and
see
at
that you
that
don't need the fourth API that you have created because from the server we never need to initiate any connection with the
yes,
client.
yes, 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 that's true. That's true. That is absolutely true. But yeah, that is absolutely true. But I was thinking on
Mhm.
a separate note.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah. I
server
understood
will
your
have,
thought.
there will be a separate API connection between the server and the offline
Yeah,
location
yeah, 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 yeah. I
so that the
understood your
server
thought
can
process.
actually
Yeah.
repeat the process from the client to the server as from the server to the offline
Uh,
location.
right.
That was what I was thinking
That
about.
was your thought. Yeah, yeah.
Although it could come in any other form, it could just
Hmm.
be simple FTP, it could be a simple database,
Hmm.
right, or whatever. It doesn't at that point it doesn't have to be necessarily
Hmm.
be an API call
Right.
for that secondary part.
Right. So
Okay.
the API from
So
this point looks a
so
little
we will
okay.
also need
Hmm.
yeah, we also need from the client side, we also need like APIs for create user creation, APIs for I don't know if I need to
Yeah,
mention.
you don't need those. Let's say those are handed over to some other service to take care of it, right?
Okay.
So the API looks good. Now just I want you to get it a little refined because we don't want the name client because the client name is now redundant, right? So you can
Yes,
probably
okay. Okay.
remove it and so these are just I'm giving you tips for the interview that you are going to have in a short while,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and at the front you can just put that what kind of method you are going to. So the first one you said will be a post, right? A post call.
Okay, yes.
So what
Okay,
would be
yeah.
the other two?
So the second will uh get this two seems like a post. The
Hmm.
complete will be a post. Send file in bits.
Hmm.
They seem like they are all post requests.
Can we have it as something else? This is more of a update you are doing, right? The second one.
Okay, yeah, this and this yeah, update.
Little bit of
Update.
I know that it is controversial, like it's debatable that you can have it
Yeah.
post but you can have it put as well,
Uh,
so that is fine, you
Yeah,
can have it post. I don't mind having it as post.
post. Okay, okay,
Okay, and
okay.
uh, also in the second API you should also send the ID, so you should put the ID in the
ID, yes.
yes
ID and the third ID too.
yeah, and when you put the parameters, or it is good to put it in a square bracket or a curly brace, so that
Okay.
somebody
We
understand
can
that
tell the
this is a
difference.
parameter.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. This looks good now. So for now, we'll have it, we'll hold it till here and we'll move
Okay.
and see how we are going to have it stored in the database.
Okay. Okay, yes. So yeah. So that this is now going to be in the we are now in the server
Hmm.
I
Right.
presume. So this is within the server.
Hmm.
Okay, so to start with we uh, in our server uh, we can we in this case the brute force approach would just be to have a connectivity to a database at this stage, but we probably want to factor in other things like
Hmm.
um, security and uh, 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 redundancy and all that. So we
Hmm.
probably want to use here. We said we could do it directly, or we could actually create APIs that
Hmm.
from the offline location that
Hmm.
can be consumed by the server. I don't know which would be. I would think for the sake of speed,
Okay.
I'd say a direct database connectivity, which would include self-sending queries and if an FTP
Hmm.
connection to the offline location will probably be the most appropriate. But it doesn't scale because what if the system grows larger
Hmm.
in the future? What if we now
Uh,
start serving a lot
Obinna, we'll
more?
come to the scaling part later. So first, let's break down two things. So there are two things, right? One has you
Okay,
have started creating a log and now you're
okay,
uploading the bits, right? Send file in bits.
okay.
So
Yes,
the first call, let's say there will be one call and there will be 10 or 15 of this call, and then you'll have
yes.
the end call, right? So first
Once, yeah.
let's yeah, so these two call, the first one and the third one, is going to be
Okay,
once, right? And the
okay,
middle one is going to be multiple times, right?
okay,
So first let's come
okay.
up with the schema how we are going to store this in a table.
Okay. So we want to define
The
the
schema.
database schema
Yeah, yeah.
for this
Hmm.
information.
Yeah.
Okay, so my table
Hmm.
would basically look like this. We would have an ID column. Let me
Hmm.
have an ID
Hmm.
column which will take in the ID that we have been. This would be something like a GU ID or something like that.
Okay, this is
We
the GUID.
also
And is this the same GUID that you are returning as a part of this first API?
yes,
Okay, okay,
basically.
okay, fine.
So and then we would have the timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
I will have a
Mm-hmm.
start time,
Mm-hmm.
which would be timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, we would have an end time.
Mm-hmm.
Would have an end time, which is also a timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we would have so we have the start. The timestamp is indicates the time this
First call
the whole
came.
process started. The first call
Yeah,
started, and the
and
end
end
time
is the
ends
third call.
indicate the third part,
Yes,
and
got
then
it.
we would we would have a information requiring the number of bits,
Mm-hmm.
total number of bits. So this would indicate the number of times this was basically called.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, then we will indicate
But you are not going to have any metadata of this bits, number of bits.
it will be an integer
So let's
since it
say
cannot
it is
be
only
more
15
than
times.
2000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, it could be more.
It could be more, exactly. It could be a bigger file also. So you are not going to
Well,
have
just
another
it could be
table.
a small int actually. Yeah. Okay, you want okay, yes, and
Hmm.
yes, we could have another table that is a foreign that has
Yes, foreign
a
key to
foreign
this.
key to
Yes.
this table and which now gives the detail of that. So and in that table we'll now have a status field for each of the individual
Okay.
um, bytes. Then each of the individual
Hmm.
which whether the individual bits have been sent
Right.
offline, and then there will also in this main table would have
Hmm.
a status as well,
Hmm. That is it in
uh,
progress or it is done. That status.
whether the entire thing yeah has been received, whether the entire thing has been sent online.
Hmm.
It could be an enum or just an integer representing a form of
Hmm.
enumeration. And so I think that's it for this table. I'll call this table uh, uh, log um, log detail. I don't know that
Hmm.
log detail. Then I'll have another table
Hmm.
uh, that I'll call log chunk.
Hmm. Okay.
The table would uh, have a foreign key ID that maps to the log detail ID, which
Hmm.
would have the
A
same
GUID again. Hmm.
and it would have a status.
And you have a log detail ID.
Yeah, and then we have a log detail ID or file ID of some sort, uh, which could this could be a blob.
You are going to
No, sorry, not
it.
file
Yeah.
ID. I would say
Hmm.
file. It could be a file,
Yeah.
which could be a blob, or it could be a
Uh,
file ID, which could point to an actual file.
Actually, that makes more sense not having, because you are going to query so much in this table, right? So it is better to
Okay, so
use
we
a
don't want
separate
it to
file
be
system. Yeah, so you can have a
yes.
reference.
Okay, so we
Some
can.
some
This could
path. It
be
will be a path.
another GUI. So okay,
It would not be a GUID actually. It will more
all
be
right. So
like a
that should be
path.
a string,
Yeah, it's a
a
path more
packet,
like a,
a
yeah.
packet is what do they call it? Text, I guess. Yeah,
Yes.
depending on the
Yes,
database.
yes, 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 yes. And you will also need a log detail ID in this table, right?
Okay.
So,
Why log detail?
so you have to connect, right, these two tables. So the first table that you have, log details. So from here, I don't know this chunk belongs to which of the log detail.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's where this ID. This is this ID. I should, okay. I should have called it log
Yeah, then you need
detail.
a log, a normal ID also to have a primary key. Otherwise, you
Oh
cannot.
yes, 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 yes. That is absolute. So this would have its own unique
Yes,
ID,
yes, it
which
will
is
be
a
another
grid.
grid,
Yeah, yeah,
and
and then we'll have the foreign key. So this is the
it will
primary
be
key.
the second one would be the
This is the
PK,
foreign key.
FK. Yeah,
This will be an FK.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think so far we have come to a good point. I want to just highlight you few things that you should focus during your interview. Okay, so
Okay.
first one is this API, right? So
Okay.
let's say for my second chunk, okay,
Okay.
for the second chunk it has failed.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So
Yes,
in
that
that
is
case,
true.
how do
And
I?
then and yes. Okay. There. So okay. Let me trace my step backwards. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Now
could have
you.
started this process from the client side. I don't even know. So because I'm just trying to succeed, right?
Hmm,
So I call this like say what 14 times. It failed three out of the 14 times. So it
hmm,
failed it on the third try and on the seventh try, and the others succeeded.
hmm,
So at that point, this table would have status that indicates failed.
hmm.
Okay. The and meanwhile, it would have gotten it may have gotten a response of failed,
Yes, a failed
may have
response.
timed out.
Yes,
Okay, so there are
yes,
actually a number of possibilities. If it did get a failed response, it can retry
yeah.
later after it has sent the other chunks.
Hmm.
If it if it if it did get a failed response, it
Right.
can then retry in future
Exactly,
until it
exactly,
succeeds. Or
exactly,
but that's one possibility. The other possibility is it doesn't get a response for whatever reason. There's a
exactly.
timeout of some
Could
sort,
be many
and
things.
yet
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
yeah, and yet other things succeeded. So what would happen is since this table still exists with the log chunk table exists with the status
Hmm.
information at a later date. The question is, which is the best approach? Now, I can think of an approach where
I will give you another point to consider over here. Okay, so
okay,
from the log chunk table, okay, this table, I cannot make out what is the order of my chunks. If I don't know the order of my chunks,
oh okay, that's true.
so
Okay, so
that is
I
another big
probably need
problem.
another column. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need a different column. I call it order. I even need two more columns actually.
Now,
Although this okay,
now
this is a foreign relationship, so I don't need to know the number
you don't
totally.
need to, yeah, you don't care. Now this order int that you have written is going to solve your first problem. Just think how.
Oh yes. Yeah, it's going to solve my problem to some degree.
Yeah.
Yes, because uh uh well, it solves half of it because then how does the client know to resend later on at a later date whenever? Because this would
Mhm.
pile up on different clients. Different clients would have different chunks that they have
Yeah.
not successfully sent. And at later dates, the client has to retry because until it retries, this entire thing is not successful. We wouldn't have a correct and accurate
Mhm.
offline log.
Okay.
So in future, we need to have a way to inform the client that there are a few chunks that it still needs to send. That was what I was actually
Okay.
thinking
Right,
about.
right. So you can see that one thing we
So
can
we
do.
need a different API actually,
No,
I
no, no.
think.
Just think about this. What if
Okay.
I leave this order to him? Will this solve my problem?
I don't know. It doesn't look like it will.
Just think about it. So I am leaving the order number. So
Okay.
order will be, let's say order is 1, 2, 3, 4,
One, two,
5,
three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine,
right?
10. So
And
the number of
the
yes.
client,
Yeah.
the client decides the order. So if he has
Yes.
not got a response for a particular order, he can send the order again, and I am going to override in this table.
Yes, but the question is, would he keep just trying this indefinitely? That was my question. That was what I was
That
trying to
is
solve.
yeah, that is a retry mechanism, right? So we should not try it indefinitely, right? When it is not
Okay.
happening, maybe in 5 times, that means it's not going to happen. You can exponentially increase the time. That is totally a different discussion. So it can be true
Okay.
for this one as well, right? This can
Okay.
also
Okay.
fail, right? So we
Okay.
have to
Yes.
see the error code that we are getting, right?
Okay.
So we have to see the error code that we are getting is a retriable error code or not. So let's say a
Okay.
503 is a retriable error code, right? So that means the
Yes.
server is temporarily maybe down
Okay.
and it
Okay.
can retry later. But if
Okay.
it
We
is
can try.
getting,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Because we have the list on our client's location, so we leave that part entirely up to the client and
exactly,
expect that the client will do the right thing. Okay.
exactly,
Okay. That
exactly.
that would work. That would
And
work.
this order over here is going to take care of your serial things. So you can upload the 10 chunk first and the first chunk at the end. It doesn't matter to
Okay.
me anymore, right?
Yes.
Because the
Yes. Because
client
I know.
decides, yeah, the client decides that what is going to be my chunk,
Yes. Okay. Okay.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
does this make sense now?
It makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
nice, nice, nice. So keep a eye on these points when you are just trying to design. I know interviews are a hard time. Just keep your focus. Just try to attack the problem from the starting and go iteratively. You are going on the right path. Just that you started with a bigger problem in mind. Otherwise, I would say that you have been doing a good work. So yeah, we can
Okay.
continue the discussion. Over to you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So where was I? I think as far as
Mhm.
the tables go, do I need anything else? Let me think.
So log details. What is this log details? Last at the end. This last field.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to. I've lost my train. Log detail. The field would be.
Hmm.
Uh,
Uh,
okay. Yes. Whether that chunk had been sent. So it's also going to be an enum of some kind. So
uh,
recall that our server still needs to send these chunks to the offline location. So apart from the status of, you know, okay, no, we don't need this. Right?
yeah, I
Okay,
think we are good with that. We already have a
we are good.
status. That means we
We
have
already have,
received the file.
yes, we already have a status. Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Anything else that you want to add over here? I think we have done a good job so far.
yes, I believe so. Did you
Hmm.
say we can leave the other optimizations for later, or do we still
So what
should
kind of
we talk about
optimization you are? I'm pretty excited because we have done a
that?
good work.
Well, as far as optimizations go,
Huh.
okay, first of all, okay, I had indicated that we don't need to cache it. We don't.
Okay, okay,
We can do some load balancing.
okay.
Uh, we can because that's very necessary. We want to ensure from this server perspective, we want to ensure that first of all is I had talked about earlier on uh,
Partitioning.
partitioning, yeah.
That is one
And,
good optimization that we can do.
yes, and then we
Hmm.
also need to talk about load balancing, and
Hmm.
then the structure of the load balancing would probably need to also factor into consideration what kind of load balancing do we do. I think uh,
Hmm.
in this case we can ensure that the components that make up this server uh, don't necessarily have to have the same uh, capacity. So
Hmm.
we might still take into consideration some kind of, I guess, round robin would be good enough
Yeah.
uh, to ensure that we can replicate this data to as many
Hmm.
of our locations as possible. We may
Hmm.
also want to determine what location gets hit first based on the location
Latency
of the
based, right?
client,
Okay.
the
Mm-hmm.
latency. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? We okay. Yeah. So and we have to index these tables.
Mm-hmm.
So this has to be indexed. These IDs have to
Mm-hmm.
be indexed. Um, I
Primary
also
key is
believe
already indexed by default.
yeah, primaries in okay, the foreign keys. We need to index this log
Mm-hmm.
detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. So we may not need to index anything else. Technically, we
Mm-hmm.
may also index the file ID just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's basically it. I think I as far as optimizations go, yeah, I'm good.
Another optimization that comes to my mind, again, that is a little debatable, that we are storing logs, right? And what is the
Yes.
point of having the log which is 6 month old sitting in this table? Probably we can archive or purge those data.
Oh yes. So
So we can have a
we can
retention.
have a different table. Yes,
Yeah,
we can have a different table
to
that
archive it.
mimics yes that mimics this and probably even
Yeah.
just combines it with this. We
Yes,
can
yes.
combine the log
That is
detail
good.
as a log chunk and put it into an archive table. Yeah,
So
and
that
then
could
even
do a good
partition that
optimize.
archive table if we want
Exactly.
to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
We can have that part archived and purged somewhere else.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I think, yeah, we have done some interesting things over here. That's pretty nice actually. So
Okay.
I think overall, if I talk about my experience about the discussion that I had with you, it was pretty
Yeah.
nice. Your the way you gathered the requirement initially at the front part of the document was pretty impressive. That you have collected the functional, the non-functional kind of requirement. Do that. That's a very good thing. You have done the estimation of the storage that we require, right? And it is also
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
to put the estimation for, like, let's say 5 years. So that is a good
Okay.
thing that you can add, right? So we have
Yes.
just seen done for a day, so you can say that for 5 years that this is the amount of storage I'm going to need. And at that moment
Yes.
the archival part would have popped up as well. So offline queuing system. So I think the way the interview started is maybe it went in a different direction. You were thinking from the client perspective a lot more. So try to
Yes.
gauge what the interviewer is trying to focus on. Is it the front
Yeah.
end? Is it the back end? It's
It's
not a
the
good
back
thing
end.
to
Yeah.
talk about the front end part as well, but
Okay.
try to see that where the interviewer's interest is, right? So
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
when you're giving an interview, you're hired for a particular team, right? So it would be
Yes.
either a front end team, a back end team, or a both, right? So it's not
Yeah.
bad to talk. So it was good to see that you talked about offline queuing, the client side requests. So those are things, good things that you mentioned. It is good.
Okay.
Authentication and authorization part you mentioned, that is one important point, I would say, and most of the time I see people miss out on that. Always
Okay.
to talk about that, even if it is irrelevant also, it is good to see a senior people focusing on that area, right? It creates a good
Okay.
impression. um,
Okay.
Tracking data received, upload, optimize. So okay, these things are good things. You should always carry on doing it. API
Okay.
design, again, try to give the names correctly, and like you have given, like log, create log and all. So when you are doing
Okay.
a post, I would say you can just do a log and create. So this means a post only, this means a create. So
Okay. Yeah.
by definition,
Okay.
we have post, put, delete, and all those methods, right? So they
Yes.
signify what it is. It's a create or it's a update, right? So you don't need to
Okay.
put those separately, right? So
Okay. Okay.
overall, I think you have done a good thing on the API designing part. With the table also, just focus. You missed out on a few things, minor things. It happens. It happens with me as well. So nothing to worry on it. It was overall a good design that you came up with. And yeah, you talked about the optimization part. Always do that. That's always a thumbs up from my side. It's good to see that
Okay.
once you are done, you are still revisiting and finding out what could still be improved, right? It's a very good thing.
Okay. Yes,
So
yeah, yeah,
overall, I
sir.
would say it was great. It was good to discuss with you. We came up with a very nice design over here. So I wish
Thank
you
you very
all the luck for the interview, for the interviews, upcoming interview. Do reach out to
Thank you.
me whenever you need any help. We are now
Oh yeah.
connected. So
I,
don't.
I would love also for you to maybe give me some other means to network to you. You have my number, and
Sure,
I probably we can always collaborate. And
sure.
I
It
would love
was
to just pick your brain and
absolutely.
just make a new friend if that's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Same here. And I would shortly be sharing the video in my channel, and I would share the link with you. So do share
Okay,
with your
you,
friends as well.
I
And
will do that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was great
Okay.
talking to you, Obina. So stay safe
Same here.
and take care of yourself. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.